When the Portuguese first got to Angola, they found a religion that they did not like, one that offended them so much that they wanted the heads of natives who continued to practice this after they had been taught about Christianity. And of course, in true Christian fashion, they kept their word and killed anyone who would go against their religion. But why would they go this far for their religion? Why is it that in certain areas that people didn't accept their religion, they didn't kill them, but instead negotiated with them? Was there something more sinister hiding in the background? Was there something less religious and more political? It's hard to say that the people who came with these religious practices were religious or not. But something that I can easily say is that clearly they used religion when it was convenient for them, and then they used politics most of the time. To answer this question, we have to go to a faraway land from Angola called Japan. And in Japan, another place where Europeans were gunning to colonize, something really strange happened where Europeans freely admitted their plans. This was called the San Felipe Incident. In 1596, a Spanish ship landed in the coast of Japan by accident, and they found themselves being taken in by the local rulers, and they were interrogated. Since some people had already landed in Japan from Europe, they had translators, and they, of course, asked about the Spanish and what was going on with them. The Spanish freely told them this. Nagamori then inquired. He then asked Pilot Major Francisco de Alondia where they came from and how they came to Japan. At this point, Hollandia produced a map showing the extent of the Spanish colonial empire and insinuated that Spain gained its empire by first converting native populations to Christianity with missionaries and then sending in conquistadors to join the newly converted in an invasion of conquest. This exchange was duly reported to Hideyoshi, who reacted with fury. The pilot's revelation was a confirmation of Hideyoshi's suspicions of Christians as fifth columnists in Japan, which had been fanned by his anti Christian retainers. He responded quickly, ordering all the missionaries in Japan to be rounded up. Ishida Mitsunari, first among the first commissioners under Hideyoshi, clarified that Hideyoshi's order was directed towards the Franciscans that openly violated his 1587 edict. The Jesuits, who were discreet in their preaching, were excluded in the end. 26 Catholics, 6 Franciscan friars, 17 Japanese Franciscan territories, and 3 Japanese Jesuits, included by mistake, were paraded from Kyoto and Nagasaki, where they were crucified on a hill on February 5th, 1597. A passenger of San Felipe, the Friar Philip of Jesus, was among the martyrs. But this person was not the first in the world to suspect that the Europeans were up to no good with their religion, for there was someone called Kimpe Vita who lived in Angola who saw that the Portuguese came with the same agenda, which is to enslave the population and colonize and plunder. Unfortunately, things didn't go so well for her, as they did for Hideyoshi. According to her testimony given at an inquest on her life, Kimpavita had visions by God Congo and was considered to be a prophetess to the Congolese, declaring that Jesus, Yeshua, Congo, came from the Congo kingdom. She forbade her people to let the Portuguese in because they were going to enslave them. She kept proclaiming the message until the Portuguese Catholics burned her at the stake. Now, this woman had spent her short life teaching people that they need to avoid the Europeans because she says through some divine message she understood that the Europeans had come to deceive and that all the people of the Bible were really from the kingdom of Congo. And so she today is seen as a legendary figure in history because she predicted the history that was then to follow. Now, you would think what would happen is because she got a large following of people under something that was called Antonianism, which she started, you would think that what would happen is she told people about the Portuguese, they would be suspicious, and then they would kick them out. That is not what happened. Instead, no one believed her, and they let the Portuguese do whatever they want, and the Portuguese burned her. And years after she had died, did they finally learn that the Portuguese had nothing but bad intentions. But if you had read their books earlier, it would have been quite simple to see that they had nothing but bad intentions from the beginning. Now, here's something worth thinking about. Why is it that these Portuguese were so quiet in Japan, but then they were so loud in Angola? It's because in Angola they had put in so much background and so much foundation that they knew they could just do whatever they wanted because the people believed in their religion. At least the elites believed in their religion. I feel like a lot of the ordinary people who were hiding idols, quote unquote, and other important figurines decided that they're just going to go with what the elites are saying. And here's the proof written in the 1600s, written in the 1500s, and published in the 1600s. After these events, the king sent the ambassador of the king of Portugal, who had been detained till now at the court by these disturbances, and with him another ambassador of his name Dom Rodrigo, and also some of his own, and this ambassador's relations to Portugal, that they might learn the Christian doctrine, and also the language, and give an account to the king of the past events. Besides this, he assembled the governors from the different provinces at a place arranged for them to meet in, and told them publicly that whoever possessed idols or anything else contrary to the Christian religion must give them up to the deputies appointed to receive them, and that all who kept them back would be burnt and receive no pardon. Oh, and one more thing. The Portuguese and Africans would not always remain separate, as they had one thing in common, a common enemy, the Europeans. In a weird twist of fate, some slaves that were brought to Japan by the Spanish on that trip that they landed in Japan found themselves losing all their slaves when Hideyoshi kicked them all out except the black slaves which he employed into his own kingdom. And so, just like Yasuke, as we've seen, these black people were freed and then used in the Empire of Japan, probably occupying positions they would have never occupied in their own countries or even with the Portuguese. Never has the phrase loose lips sink ships been more accurate than in this case, where the Spaniard was too eager to tell the quiet part out loud in classic white supremacist fashion. And this led to Japan never being colonized by any European power, and by in extension Korea. Angola was not so lucky. It would be colonized with the rest of the other African countries. Parts of Angola were colonized first than any other country in Africa. And then, when the Berlin Conference happened, the Portuguese were like, nope, this is our area. And they colonized the rest of that area, including Mozambique. And they even colonized so much that they thought that they could join Mozambique and Angola together by colonizing other states in between. This is how far they had destroyed that nation. Luckily, later on, there would be anti colonialists who pretty much destroyed that, and now Angola is back in the hands of the natives.